Have you played Star Fox Zero? That one random reboot slash reimagining that came out after a remaster of a remake? That's besides the point. I'm not going to get into the fact that we've had the same game like 3-4 times at this point. You know, with the recent announcement of the Star Fox 64 remake for Switch 2, I had the urge to play Star Fox. And, you know, you don't really have a lot of choices when it comes to traditional Star Fox games. You know, I didn't want to play Adventures because that wasn't a actual Star Fox game. That was more of a Zelda game. But I've played 64 so much that I'm kind of tired of it. And, you know, then there's the original Star Fox. I've played through it, but it just doesn't do it for me. So I was like, well, the only other one I have is Zero. I played that once when it came out, and that was it. So I thought, oh, I'll revisit it just for the hell of it. Give me a Star Fox game to play that I didn't really dive too deep into. I was very much one of those people that I think I liked it more than most people, but I wasn't crazy about it because of the like forced motion controls. So that was kind of a turnoff for me back then. But when I revisited it, the motion controls didn't really bother me this time for some reason. There was a couple of sections where you have like, it's like an all range mode where there's an enemy in the center of the arena and you have to like lock onto it by holding the ZL button. And those battles were kind of the ones that really got me frustrated with the motion controls. But the rest of it wasn't really that bad. Not as much as I remember. You know, most of the motion controls aside from that, you just kind of hold the gamepad and use the gyro controls to give you a little extra aim without actually moving your entire ship. So it's kind of like you're staring at the TV most of the time and occasionally just glancing at the gamepad. But I'm kind of disappointed now that I was so harsh on it because of how much I enjoyed it this time. And I wish I would have gave it a second chance a long time ago. But I need to address the elephant. But like, let's just address the elephant in the room with the fact that this is another version of the same game, basically. You know, they're retelling the events of trying to stop Andross from taking over or destroying the Lylat system. And I don't see the need for a reboot for like the fourth time. I think with Star Fox Zero, I think what they should have done was take advantage of the like lore that they already had. You know, you had 64, Adventures, Assault, and Command, which was just like it continued in the same timeline. It was the same universe. And Star Fox Zero, you know, reboot. But I think what they should have done was take advantage of that game. You know, with other games, they have a tendency to call a prequel game Zero. You know, look at like Resident Evil Zero or Perfect Dark Zero. So what I think they should have did with this game was, instead of just reimagining the same basic game like I've said 1,000 times, they should have made it a prequel and had you play as like James McCloud and Peppy and Pigma and seen the story of the original Star Fox team and see what exactly happened. You know, in the new Star Fox, there's a whole like cinematic they showed off that kind of showed like what happened. But this would have been a perfect time for them to kind of retell the same story without actually retelling the same story. You know, because the original Star Fox team was, they were investigating the whole thing with Andross, and then Pigma betrayed them and whatnot. And they could have fleshed it out. And, you know, this would have taken place like years before the original Star Fox, or Star Fox 64 anyway. So, hey, it's more same game, but with more lore. I just think that was a missed opportunity. And I'm very disappointed that Nintendo wants to keep revisiting the same thing. I mean, they do that with most of their games. You know, look at freaking Mario. It's always rescue the princess. But in Mario's defense, you know, Bowser keeps capturing the princess. It's not like they're retelling the same time he kidnaps her. It's just like, oh, he's doing it again. So, like, look at the vehicles for a second. I'm kind of disappointed. Like, they give you, I feel, more options, but at the same time, they don't. I don't know. I'm kind of confused how I feel. Because in Star Fox 64, you had the R-Wing, the Landmaster, and Blue Marine. I think it was called the submarine. So you had land, air, and sea. And obviously you played most of the game in the R-Wing, but there was like 2 levels with the tank and then 1 with the submarine. And in this one, you have the R-Wing, which can also transform into a land vehicle. Then you have the Landmaster, which is also a land vehicle. Then you have the Rover or RTV, I don't remember what it's called. There's another land vehicle. So you have 3 land things, but why? So there's 3 different land vehicles, but I don't really see the point to them. I mean, they control differently, but they don't feel different enough to be justified. There's also the gyrocopter. I have to remember that. That one, I feel that one kind of slowed the gameplay down a little bit. I didn't care for that too much. I liked some of the levels, but some I did not. You know, my favorite level, I can't remember the name of it, like any of these levels, but the one that I liked the most was the planet where there's just like these giant vines everywhere and you're up in the clouds. And then there's another one that's like a halo ring, you know, a giant ring world colony. That one was kind of cool. And then there's like, you know, different modes. Like you have the story mode, which is the main mode. You can just kind of pick whatever level you want and replay it as many times. But then there's arcade mode, which is traditional, like the original and 64, where it's just like just one level at a time. If you can get the alternate path, awesome. If not, oh well, you gotta try next time. And then there's like training mode, which also has challenges. You know, it's like, oh, destroy so many enemies or collect so many rings or coins or whatever. It was a nice mode. Just get in there, just mess around with the vehicles, nothing crazy. I do feel that Star Fox Zero is probably the peak character designs for these characters, because they are, as you know, obviously the best graphic wise, they are the best looking, unless you want to count the reboot Abominations where they're animals but humanish. I don't know. I'm satisfied with these. Honestly, I think Smash has the best character designs, but in terms of actual Star Fox games, this is probably the characters at their peak. And we certainly can't forget the presentation that they made for this game back when they announced it, where they had puppets of Satoru Iwata, Shigeru Miyamoto, and Reggie Fils-Aimé, and then they slowly turned into the Star Fox characters. That was so cool. I mean, just Nintendo from that specific time period was on a different level. Remember that time they had Robot Chicken do a skit for them? You know, at the end of the day, I didn't like the motion controls in this game, and I'm still not crazy about them, but they don't bother me as much as they used to. And I like the game more than I did back when I first played it. But my biggest complaint, aside from the controls, is I felt that it was just a little too short. The levels just don't feel as long as some of the ones in Star Fox 64. It's like there's sections of the game that they nailed right, and there's other sections that suffered because they wanted to experiment and do different things, like with the motion controls and with the gyrocopter. You know, the gyrocopter levels did kind of feel a little slower because it wasn't like on rails, you were just kind of free roaming. I also have to mention Star Fox Guard, which was included with this, which started off as a tech demo that tried to show off some of the Wii U gamepad functions, and ultimately they just turned it into a Star Fox game. And it wasn't a real Star Fox game, it was a tower defense game just with Star Fox characters in it, and it was fun. I did actually enjoy it, and I felt that game actually was a lot longer than the Star Fox Zero game that was the main attraction. But you know, that one is worth checking out regardless of whether you like Star Fox or not. It's just a different game. But let me know if you've played Star Fox Zero and if you enjoyed it or not. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.